Recently, an instance of devastating hypocrisy hit the airwaves, rattling the socialist community to its core and throwing us into a pit of disarray and incongruity. And that would, of course, be the fact that Hassan Piker Abi bought a house. Now, don't get too excited. It's an expensive house. It is at 2.74 million. However, that is in West Hollywood dollars. And also you have to live in Los Angeles to be in the house, which is, whew, okay? Hey, listen, if you want, I can sell you plots of land on Mercury, you know? I mean, hey, you can get, land is cheap out there. They're practically giving it away, all right? Um, anyway, he bought this house, okay? It's a shiny house. It's very nice. It's certainly nicer than any house I've ever lived in. And some people are mad at him about this. Now, before I get into this, I want to make a couple of things clear because I'm in an unfortunate position where me expressing values I've held for years are going to get me accused of simping to Hasan to try to leech his audience. Which, to be clear, and I want to front this, yes, every time I mention Hasan on stream, I'm hoping his audience finds the video and subs to me and gives me money. To be totally clear, that is the case. But also, this is something that I've believed vocally the entire time I've been streaming. So this is just so to be clear, both of these things are true. Okay. So anyway, people got mad about this, okay? Like mad. And you know what they got mad about, right? I mean, you all know what they got mad about. I thought you hated the rich, but now your house is big. Why don't you live your principles and donate all of your money to charity? Stuff like that, right? And so on and so on. And these are criticisms that should be really familiar to you because they're the same criticisms that Bernie Sanders got. Remember, 3 houses Bernie Sanders, millionaire Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders wants to make life better for every American. But I can't help but notice that the 500-year-old senator who sold a best-selling book has a lot of money. You know? Remember that time AOC was in a nice dress and it was like rented for a photo shoot in a magazine? Remember that? And like conservatives were like, curious, you want to tax people, but you're wearing an expensive dress. It's like, oh my God. Look, these criticisms come from 2 places, okay? From one place, they come from like bad faith liberals, okay? They're people who dislike socialists, but find our arguments unassailable and our appearances, just beyond reproach. So they come up with bad faith, vaguely gesturing at imagined hypocrisy arguments, because they just don't, either because if you're running against them in a presidential election, then you have that angle, and if you just don't like them, you don't like them. Arguments from hypocrisy are always really, really weak by like default, unless the hypocrisy that you're underlining meaningfully destroys the concept that's being delivered. So let me give you an example, okay? If a person says obesity is an epidemic and we should probably eat healthier, but they are themselves fat, does pointing out their fat really address the argument? Not really. I mean, you can if you want to be mean. I mean, it's a strategy, but it doesn't like address the argument, you know. But let's say that you are talking with your significant other and you say, this house has been so messy. It's so messy around here. We should clean it up more, okay? So here's what we need to do, okay? You should clean up Monday through Sunday, and I'll clean up when I can. And now, the argument that you could make is that the hypocritical distribution of assigned work is undermining the validity of the argument, which is that they should both contribute to cleaning the house. Does that make sense? Maybe a little bit of an inarticulate argument, but the point is that hypocrisy doesn't always destroy an argument. In fact, it often doesn't. Sometimes it does, but it often doesn't. But the thing is, in this case, this isn't even hypocrisy. I don't know how many times I have to repeat this, but socialists don't usually say stuff like, you can't own a home. It's immoral to own a home. If you have money, you should donate all of it. Certainly, there are some people who say this. I don't think I've said this. Pretty sure Hasan hasn't said this either. Usually, the argument socialists have is that we should tax people more. There should be wealth taxes and inheritance taxes and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as I understand it, to my knowledge, Hasan pays his taxes. So, you know, there's this debate bro obsession in some communities with addressing hypocrisy over the actual underlying worth of what's happening. Because from a consequentialist perspective, Hasan's not really doing any harm in the world, but there are some people who are more obsessed with the idea of holding people to account, you know? Like, I'll give you an example. A community of people who think that it's more acceptable for a person to eat meat if they don't believe animals have any moral worth than it is for a vegetarian to only eat eggs, cheese, and dairy if they do believe animals have any moral worth. In that case, you actually value people's consistency above the actual harm they do, which is an insane perspective. But some people actually do, at least selectively, go by that kind of overriding logic, which is a great way to avoid actually criticizing somebody. So you have those people. And then you have lefties who are attacking Hasan over this, which, to be fair, there are actually quite a lot of them. The left has always been a circular firing squad. And, man, I've talked about these people before with, like, ContraPoints. You know how ContraPoints makes, like, a lot of money off Patreon? And there are people who actually get mad over it? They're like, if you make that much money and you're a socialist, you should be doing something with it. And, hey, you're right. Hasan should be doing something if he's a socialist with that much in the way of wealth. Thankfully, he's the largest socialist streamer, to my knowledge, on Earth. So he made his money from the advocacy. Imagine if you're a socialist and you write a book and it's a pro-socialism book and you sell that book. And you get rich selling that book, and people get mad at you and say that because you got rich selling that book, that you're somehow a hypocrite. It's like, you got rich from advocating for the thing people are accusing you of. Yeah, it's very, very silly. I mean, it's really, really, really silly stuff. There are, from the bad faith liberal end of things, the reason why this type of criticism is so consistent is because it's a really, really good way of delegitimizing and hamstringing socialists without actually addressing their arguments. You delegitimize them by getting people to believe they're a hypocrite, which they're not. I mean, Bernie Sanders wasn't for owning 3 houses, but they got a lot of people believing that. And additionally, the implicit argument is that the only moral way to be a socialist is to be disempowered, which, no. I want everyone to be a socialist. And as long as we live in a world with millionaires and billionaires, mansions, cops and soldiers, politicians, and hedge fund managers, I want everyone to be a socialist. Okay? Everyone. From every point, bottom to top. And I do not want people to be socialists and then think, oh, well, now I can't be successful because if I do, the circular firing squad on the left is going to tear me apart. No, 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 no. Contra talked about this in Envy. This is a horribly counterproductive way to go about things. Can you imagine if people disregarded Marx because he hypocritically accepted the help of Engels, a factory owner? Can you imagine? Like, seriously. He was a factory owner. And by the way, Hasan makes his money streaming and YouTubing. Okay, this is like the least exploitative way of making money. Seriously, in terms of like wealth accrued relative to employees strangled, this is a relatively high ratio of moral profitability compared to Engels, the factory owner. Das Kapital, no, this was funded with bourgeois money. Like, come on, Jesus. Just that I tell you, there are people who say like, I wish there was one leftist billionaire to fund leftist projects. I say that, by the way. But when a lot of people say that, no, you don't. Because if there was a leftist billionaire, all you would do is shit talk them. all you would do is shit talk them. Yeah, you're a leftist. Oh, you haven't donated every cent. You live in a big house. Like, they would never do it. Yeah, like Sake Tanuki, the bane of the broader online socialist community's existence. They would tear this person limb from limb, and we would never get anything done. Okay? Hold on, real quick. I can see it in chat. I'm not attacking Hasan for having money, but I mean, it's a $3 million house. Does it really have to be a $3 million house? No, but he wanted one. I don't care. At some point, it's just fucked up to spend so much money on something like this? No, I don't agree. Spending lots of money on houses to live in is not the backbone of the exploitation of the capitalist economy. You're individualizing and personalizing the problems with capitalism. The problems with capitalism aren't the fact that wealthy people exist or that there are large houses and realtors who sell them. Those things aren't the metric that makes this system exploitative. It's a horrible, bastardized, incestuous relationship between all the intertwined systems of political and economic power that guarantee more political power to the wealthy, and then reify and reinforce systems that privilege the wealthy and allow them to accrue further wealth at the expense of the rest of the people. But that has nothing to do with whether or not a person who's already wealthy buys a big house. That's just, they're not, these just aren't connected in my mind, Or if you want to do a trade-off, $3 million house, but also Hasan reaches millions of people every week with socialist messaging. I don't know. I mean, you can do the math on that if you want, but that seems like a favorable trade to me. Now, that's not to say that it's not good for people to be as benevolent and generous and philanthropic with their money as possible. But I don't think that that's a hypocritical argument. Like, everyone should be that way, not socialists especially. Like, if you hold socialists in power to a standard which is different, there will be people who don't meet that standard who will be disinclined from being invested in socialist arguments because they know that even though their behavior hasn't changed, the way they're judged will be. Even if their behavior improves, the way they're treated will go down, which to me just seems highly counterproductive. My recommendation on this is exactly the same as it has always been. If you want to encourage left-leaning, powerful people to do good stuff with their money, do so. But do not do so in this bitter, half-assed, facile attempt at accusing them of hypocrisy. Just be, reasonable about, hey, I think it'd be nice if we did more charity. I think it'd be nice if we did this. I think it'd be nice if we did that. Just be reasonable about it. But it's so obvious how spite-driven a lot of this behavior is, because it's not a Hasan's income has been a consistent thing. You all knew he made millions a year, right? You can do the math on how many subs he gets. It's not like a hidden thing. He was always rich. I mean, it was known. But now the hate comes? This is clearly not, a matter of holding people to a consistent standard of behavior, and more so a matter of, I don't like opulence in the hands of people on the left. And I just don't think that's a good argument. I want to be really clear so everyone knows, okay? While I am nowhere near as wealthy as Hasan is, okay? If I was, yeah, I would probably buy a nice big house too. Because it would be shiny, and I would want it. And you can complain about that all you want, but your complaints should probably be leveled not at hypocrisy, but rather at sort of the general enemy and inequality of our society. Because at no point over the course of my stream have I said it's immoral for rich people to buy big houses. It is immoral to buy big McMansions. That is immoral. Those gigantic empty houses that look like showrooms that you can buy up in northern Texas for like $1.5 million that are roughly the size of like a Walmart parking lot. That is immoral. But this is a West Hollywood house, so that's probably not necessarily an issue here. Yeah, that is morally wrong, to be clear. Those houses suck. Oh yeah, I've been inside one once, and oh my, it really does feel like you're in a showroom or like a car, like the car display rooms in the nice car dealerships. What makes it immoral? Because they're gross. Just we're not getting into this right now. We're trying to be pointed with this. Do you not think class interests interfere with socialist politics? They can, but if that's the case, criticize the way it interferes with socialist politics. Now, here's something that you could criticize. Let me give you like an in. If you want to criticize Hasan for hypocrisy, here's what you should do, or any person on the left, okay? Let's say that you have a small streamer who says, yeah, tax the rich, cancel inheritance, capital gains tax, yeah, and all that, And then that's what they believe, and they get to be a quite large streamer, and then they kind of soften up on all those positions. Oh, we don't really need like that much higher taxes. Oh, real estate taxes are fine where they are, really. Or actually, in the neighborhood where I'm in, they're kind of, you know, uh, now that I think about it, I don't really think that like, I don't really think that like this is reasonable tax rate. I mean, it's like when behavior like that begins, please criticize them for that, okay? That is valid criticism, but that's not because they're doing being rich. That's because their values have been corroded by their material interests, okay? Now, to my knowledge, what Hasan's doing here doesn't really conflict with anything that he said on stream, except for maybe like a bad faith misinterpretation of statements that he's made, like, ha, fuck the rich, but then he's rich, and it's like, ha, now you're rich. It's like, okay, like, sure, congratulations. I've said fuck white people. I'm white. I mean, what are you going to do? Hasan has literally said he should be taxed more. Yeah, and I should be taxed more. By the way, I should be taxed more. He should be taxed more. We should both be taxed more. Please, we should both be taxed more. Absolutely. However, if I am to be taxed more, I would like it to be through income tax and not through the god-awful, what is it, FICA tax? What is it called? The self-employment tax that the employer pays 7.5% of, but if you're independent, you pay the whole 15%. That thing sucks, okay? Pay me, do it more through income tax. Pump that up, okay? Don't, yeah, appropriately distribute the relationship between these different tax brackets. Increase capital gains tax. You know why? I don't have any stock. Do that, okay? I don't have any stock, so just pump up the capital gains tax just into the stratosphere. Make it 40%. I don't care. Okay. Anyway. Long story short, this is super dumb, and stay mad, criticize policy, don't get mad that some socialists are successful. It's just, seriously, okay? It's really dumb, okay? Like, oh no, a big house in Hollywood that would have been bought by another wealthy person got bought by this wealthy person, and this wealthy person is one of the largest socialists online, but it's bad that they make money from being that, even though most of their money comes voluntarily and from ad revenue. It's just, I'm sure Hasan has said way dumber shit. Didn't Hasan recently, like, kind of defend the USSR's involvement in Afghanistan? That is infinitely more cancelable than anything. Yeah, that this is, okay? This is infinitely more worthwhile. So I don't know. Go get mad at him for that.